The approach here is essentially eclectic, drawing upon ethological, psychoanalytic, and behaviorist theories. It attempts to explain military ineptitude in light of 5 inescapable, if unfortunate, features of human psychology. These are: 1. Man shares with lower animals certain powerful instincts. And again, these are like the root of what he's talking about. These 5 inescapable parts of our brains. So we share with lower animals certain powerful instincts. 2, unlike lower animals, most men learn to control, frustrate, direct, and sublimate these instinctual energies. So, right, we got control over some of these things. At least we're supposed to. We can at least frustrate them. That's a good word, right? We can at least frustrate them. 3, while by far the largest part of this learning occurs in early childhood, its effects upon adult personality are profound and long-lasting. Again, this is where, you get into like, Freud and how you're raised and all these little things that are in your childhood. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. Because I think I've seen people that have been raised all kinds of different ways and end up all kinds of different ways. But I think the end result is you end up with a personality, regardless of where it comes from. You end up with a certain personality or certain personality aspects that we can PID. We can identify them. 4, residues of this early learning, and in particular, unresolved conflicts between infantile desires and the demands of punitive morality, may remain wholly unconscious, yet provide a canker of inexhaustible anxiety. Again, really tying our behaviors to how we got treated when we were kids. And if you got, the room had to be clean, you had to clean your plate, like all those little things. And again, chime in if you guys think I'm wrong. I've known people that were raised in a totally strict environment and they end up on one end of the spectrum. And I've known people that are raised in a totally strict environment and they end up in a totally different person. Are there some root things that are overlapping? Sure. But I think we have to look, and maybe it's just the way psychologically things play out, but they're there.
Does he say unresolved?
Yes.
So I think that word jumps out at me, the unresolved part. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times people are able to come to terms with something from their childhood mm-hmm. and then own it, right? Mm-hmm. Move past it. I think it's the unresolved part that lingers, right? Where mm-hmm. there's a bit of broken something there that hasn't been addressed. Yeah. And because of that, it continues to plague the individual as they try to move forward.
So maybe if I know you two and you both were raised, in this super strict way, mm-hmm. and yet Carrie was like, you know what, my mom was just a little bit crazy and that's cool. But Dave was like, I couldn't let it go. Maybe that's what makes Dave, a little bit harder in that respect. Or maybe you're both raised by, the hippie parents that didn't care. And, Carrie was like, yeah, I don't need to care about anything. It's all good. And Dave was like, I don't want to end up like that. And you end up with a more militaristic mindset.
Or a trauma. Yeah. Hippie mom wrecks the van. Mm-hmm. Johnny moves on, Yeah. Dave doesn't. Dave bears the scar, right?
Is this thing hitting close to home to you, man? What's going on here?
Bearing the scar.
I'm just saying.
K-Dog.
Yeah, I really do. I think it comes down to
the van. All right. The last one. When this anxiety becomes the driving force in life's endeavors, the fragile edifices of reason and competence are placed in jeopardy. So that's scary. Again, for me, regardless of the source of this personality trait that you end up with, it doesn't matter where it came from. If you have it and it becomes the driving force in your endeavors, that's where we run into a problem. And I don't want to say it doesn't matter where it came from, but regardless of what you think of that, we know someone that's their ego's out of control. Like, it doesn't really matter. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter where it came from, but there's nothing we can do about where it came from. But if I understand that Dave has a massive ego, I'm not sitting there going, well, do I need to have him sit down on the couch, and like, let's go hypnotism and break down where he got this giant ego from? Or am I just gonna be like, okay, he's got a big giant ego. How do I work through this? How do I get this, how do I approach him with ideas? So we can dwell on that a little bit, how these people end up like this. And I think that is important to an extent, is just if you can understand somebody a little bit better, you can maneuver better. But regardless, you end up with these personalities, different personalities. I knew a guy, I know, there was a whole slew, because when I got in the Navy, so it's 1990, this had to be similar for you. There's a whole slew of my friends in the SEAL teams whose parents were just straight hippies, just freaking hippies, like conceived at Woodstock and whatever, like just straight up hippies. And yet they took the most militaristic life that they could, being a commando, right? So how's that work?
Yeah, maybe it's a reaction to that, you know?
And vice versa. Have you ever known someone that had that hardcore, strict religious upbringing, and how do they end up? Wild, freaking maniac,
I feel like that's the generic go-to, right? Where it's like the rebel, came from that strict Catholic school, whatever.
Yeah.
And they just go the other way.
And it's weird because neither one of these things is like, oh, you went to a strict Catholic school, now you're a rebel. No, there's plenty of people that went to a strict Catholic school and they become strict Catholics. Yep. So I think this is why, and again, I'm not a psychologist and I don't even know enough about psychology, but I'm saying regardless of my opinion, because that's all it is, an opinion, the result that you get is, oh, this person has a very rebellious attitude and he's in my platoon, how do I deal with him? Or this person has a massive ego, he's in my platoon, how do I deal with him?